Welcome in, Packers fans, to a monumental day here in Packers Nation, or at least the first of important, very important week in the future of this franchise. I'm Joey, and joining me is Big B here today to discuss all the Aaron Rodgers news that has started to unveil today. So, first thing, I wake up and I turn off my phone for pretty much the last hour that I'm awake. And the first thing I see when I wake up today is that Trey Wingo saying Aaron Rodgers has met with the Jets yesterday, being Monday, March 6th, which has to mean that the Packers have given permission to the Jets and Aaron Rodgers to speak with each other. So that's obviously very big because it kind of eliminates any mystery there was around the Packers wanting Aaron Rodgers back without any conditions, like has been the case in these past 2 years of the will he, won't he saga. This year, though, while we don't know for sure that they are completely pushing him away, we do know, though, that they are letting him explore his options. And there is still a little bit of confusion on exactly where they stand, because still Ian Rappaport said today that if Aaron Rodgers says he wants to go back to the Packers will let him back with open arms. But if he wants to be traded, they'll trade him to his desired destination. So still a little bit of confusion where the Packers stand. But Big B, I'll welcome you into the picture and ask you, what were your initial thoughts when you saw that tweet last night?
Yeah, well, I woke up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because I had to go to the bathroom. And, I figured, we're officially in Aaron Rodgers decision territory, and it would probably happen while I'm asleep. So I checked my phone before I laid back down. And, I saw the Trey Wingo tweet, started to get flashbacks to draft day in 2020.
Yeah.
And, went back to bed after thinking for about like 20 minutes about it. So
Gotcha. Yeah, it's hard not to think about it. And now we just wait and constantly refresh our phones for news. And as I am saying this, I'm checking Twitter just to make sure nothing new has broke. But since that news came out, there has pretty much been every few hours a new breadcrumb of information. So we'll be going over all of that today in case you missed any of it. And then also just our thoughts on it, obviously. So Trey indicated that those talks were going on Monday. And then from Rob Demovsky today, we heard that many people of the Jets contingent were flying out to California to meet Aaron Rodgers at his California house. So we really don't have any information on what the nature of the talks were yesterday. If they were completely just a phone call, Zoom, or if there was already like maybe Joe Douglas, the GM, was out there, but Woody Johnson, the owner, wasn't out there. But all we know is that at least of these past 2 days, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets have been talking. So, and they are out in California as we speak. So that's that. That's the basis general of the meetings. And then another piece that came out, and this was yesterday before we knew that they were talking, is that the Jets want the Packers, and not just the Jets, but other possible trade partners for the Packers, would like the Packers to throw in a little bit of moolah to pay for Aaron Rodgers' contract so they don't have to take all of that on. And especially for the Jets, who are very low on cap space. And, if they're getting Aaron Rodgers, they're more than likely wanting to go all in to win a Super Bowl in these next 2 to 3 years. And they want some money to spend. They don't have a lot of cap space right now. Thing about it, though, is that the Packers are already going to be paying a lot of money for the guaranteed money that is built into Aaron Rodgers' contract. It's especially a lot in 2023. Goes down a little bit in 24 and 25, the last 2 years of the deal. But it's a lot of money for the Packers, and they are not exactly a cap-abundant team as it stands. So whether that compensation, the money compensation, is a deal breaker on this, make or break on a possible trade, or if it's just going to weigh what the Jets end up giving up, is unknown. but that's just another piece of information at this point. And another thing that will have a massive impact on the possible compensation and if the trade will even happen is Rodgers' commitment to play not only for this year, but for next year. The Jets already know that he is 39, and not only is his, willingness or wanting to play in question, but also just his ability to play at the age he's at, the ever looming threat of regression that we think we saw some of that come out in this past year's play in 2021 or 2022, I'm sorry, in Aaron Rodgers' play. So Jets have a lot of questions, and Aaron Rodgers, in my mind, if they ask him, so Aaron, can you commit to playing in 2023 and 2024 for us? I feel like he's just going to tell him, well, I don't know. I need to take some time off after next season. And that's really not going to be too pleasing of an answer for the Jets, who are going to be making a massive move and want a little bit more security in that for them. And then finally, one last piece I wanted to cover before we really got into discussing all of this was the Jets roster, because when you're looking at a team that's looking to trade for an old blockbuster quarterback, they're going to be, they should be at a solid place to win a Super Bowl in these next few years. And, at the top of my mind, I wasn't really thinking of the Jets as a great, strong team, but taking a further look at their roster, not only are they really talented, but they're also really young. You have Corey Davis, you have Garrett Wilson, who they just drafted in the first round last year. And then on defense, just a really solid defensive group with Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, and obviously Robert Saleh at the helm. Also important to keep in mind that one of Rodgers' favorite coaches, Nathaniel Hackett, was recently hired as offensive coordinator there. Many people are arguing that hire was only made to kind of lure in Rodgers, which is definitely discrediting to Hackett's abilities, but I do think it maybe played a factor. So a really solid group over there in New York. Saul has kind of resurrected this team, and I do think with one or two more pieces additionally, in addition to Aaron Rodgers, they could be a Super Bowl contender. They are much closer than the Packers are, in my opinion. So that's that. That's pretty much all the breadcrumbs we have gotten over these past 24 hours. More is bound to come out over these next few days. And it's really just a ticking time bomb. I mean, we could get a trade announcement in the next minute, or it could be until next or this upcoming Sunday, for all we know. The legal tampering period, the unofficial start of free agency for the NFL starts on March 13th, next Monday, and officially starts on Wednesday. So both these teams will want to have a deal done by then if a deal is going to happen. So it's a lot. But Big B, what are your thoughts on kind of all these breadcrumbs we've got? And then looking at a possible trade, what are you thinking for compensation here?
Yeah, well, like you said in the beginning, every hour and a half, you got a little bit more dangled in front of you, a little bit more additions to the big news that broke last night. But I put on Twitter, like, we got to chill. A lot of people, I feel like, are overreacting on what we might get. I'm seeing a couple first round picks, a couple seconds, maybe a player thrown in there. But I've said this, I think, all off season. I don't know if I said this publicly or not, but I've been saying it in my head this whole off season. We'll probably get a second round pick, maybe 2 second round picks. I don't see a first round pick, really, especially if Rodgers does not commit next year as well. And somebody asked on Twitter when I posted it today, what is the lowest you would go? And you'd be pretty much happy with it. I said a second round pick for this year, a fourth, and I think, a fifth next year. And I think that's pretty much what we're looking at in compensation if Rodgers does not commit. But if Rodgers does commit the next 2 years, I definitely think we could get the first first round pick this year and probably a second round pick that could turn into a first next year.
Mm-hmm.
But then, somebody also said, Jets owner kind of going crazy here
Yeah.
potentially. And, these GMs and owners get desperate. So very easily could get a first round pick regardless of what Rodgers does. But that's my opinion on that.
GMs will go crazy for a solid quarterback. I mean, look at how much Daniel Jones and Geno Smith got paid in these past 2 days. You need a quarterback to win in this league. And it goes back to the Packers side, too. The only reason you keep Aaron Rodgers, there's a lot of downsides to it, in my opinion, but the only reason you keep him is the fact that he can play solid, despite what we saw last year. And even last year, he's better than like a quarter and more of the league's quarterbacks. The Jets have not had a good quarterback since Joe Namath. Like, I'm really thinking here. And I cannot recall a great Jets quarterback since then. I mean, why can't I remember his name? USC, Mark Sanchez. Like, he was Mark Sanchez, that's for sure. He did play the quarterback position. That did happen.
Yeah.
But they have not had a great quarterback in years. And the Packers have had this luxury since 1992 when they traded for Brett Favre of just incredible quarterback play. So you can't undersell the value of that. But I don't disagree with you either that people are going a little too crazy in their expectations for this. I don't think this is going to be a Matthew Stafford haul from last year with a bunch of first-round picks and whatnot. I don't know what my expectations are. I do think a first-round pick is involved, even though I said there wouldn't be last week. But I think there is, just because I think the Packers can kind of call their bluff and say, all right, well, we're going to shop him a little bit more. But that's, again, dependent on where they really stand on this. But I don't know. I don't know what the compensation looks like, and a lot of it depends on what Rodgers has to say. And we have no clue where he is at this moment. We haven't heard from him publicly since his last appearance on the Pat McAfee show, which was a few days after his darkness retreat. So it's been a while. We don't know where Rodgers is at exactly. And we'll have to see on that. Now, that's pretty much it on the Aaron Rodgers contingent, except one more point I wanted to make on this, and it's more related to his diehard fans, and then we'll talk about Jordan Love and the Packers side of all of this. Okay? The one last point I want to make on Aaron Rodgers, and this is just, I think I've said this on a lot of podcasts that we have done this offseason, all right? The media illiteracy that these Aaron Rodgers stands have is unbelievable. And I'm so glad that people on Twitter have finally brought attention to this, because I saw a lot of people saying today, that Rodgers fans saw the Trey Wingo report that they were in talks with the Jets, and they just were instantly denied it. And they brought out every false report that Trey Wingo ever had. And sure, Trey Wingo was wrong last year when he basically said that Rodgers was saying no deal to the Packers and that he was going to be traded. He was wrong on that. But he was also the first one on the call in 2021 that the Rodgers demanded that Randall Cobb be brought in. And Trey Wingo is a reputable guy. All right, he's been on ESPN forever. It's not like he's some nobody. So there's that, and there's also the Adam Schefter thing, which I have talked about multiple times. Because Rodgers did not get traded in 2021, people say that Adam Schefter does not know anything, that his report in 2021 that he did not want to play with the Packers was completely false. And Schefter's co-worker, I guess you could say, at ESPN, Rob Demovsky, said last year that there's only a 5% chance that Rodgers comes back. in 2022. And people say, well, they clearly don't know nothing. This was just a complete guess. It's like, yeah, that's in hindsight. But that could have been very accurate to the situation back at those times. Yeah. If I tell you there's a 2% chance that I have 0 Dr. Peppers tomorrow, if I end up having 0 Dr. Peppers tomorrow, then it's easy to say, well, he was completely wrong the other day when he made that 2% chance guess. It's all based on the information they have at the time. And I feel like there's just, these people are so vigilant. They feel like everybody's out to get them. And it's like, no, they're just doing their jobs that they're good at. Okay? Stop feeling like everybody is lying to you. And it just drives me up the wall how they want to deny every single report that comes out, except the ones that fit their narrative. I wonder how that happens. But, man, can you guys just at least believe some things, especially when they were reported by multiple people? Like, it took people, like, you had Dre Wingo reporting it first last night. Yeah, the Jets athletic guy, I think it was Zach Rosenblatt. And then you have Rob Demovsky, Ian Rappaport. And until like the 3rd or 4th guy on that list, they were still denying that it could have ever happened. So just let's chill out with that, please. And it's partly driven by Rodgers. I mean, even in his conversation with Big B, calling, maybe specifically Aaron Nagler, but also the media people, just calling them buffoons. And there he's just joking around in a light conversation, but he always makes it a point to kind of drag the media. So he likes to drive that for sure.
Yes, I promise everybody that if like Scheffner, Demovsky, Rappaport, literally everybody in the media were lying, they would not have a job right now. And I promise, like, they would not have a job. They probably wouldn't have very many sources if they did lie. So got to think about that. Like, they would be fired immediately if they did spread false information.
Yeah, and there's this belief that they're just making stuff up, and even if they're wrong on a report, somebody reputable told them that. Mm-hmm. And maybe it was kind of, they thought something was implied from it that just was not the case, but somebody reputable, trustworthy, told them this information. They're not just making this up out of nowhere. All right, now over to the Packers side of things, where it's a very different look than it has been since 2005, which it's crazy to think that we're possibly entering this era, just as crazy it was on draft night of 2020. But they look ahead to Jordan Love now. And, I was thinking earlier, if Jordan Love, and I presume he will be the starting quarterback in 2023, if Rodgers does get traded, the confirmation bias that these diehard Aaron Rodgers fans will have will be just so stupid. Aaron Rodgers does not play great in 2022, and they want to make every single excuse that they can. Oh, he's injured. He's, the offensive line was bad. The wide receivers weren't great. And while those are very fair, counters to that, it's also like he did regress a little bit. He did not play great. Okay, it's fine to admit that. So then they're going to turn around next year, and I just know it. They are going to pick apart every aspect of Jordan Love's game, and he should be criticized. But he's also going to be in his first year starting, and I'm sure I will be out here making excuses for him, but his game should be analyzed fairly for what it is. So there's that with Jordan Love, and people are already eager to label him as a draft bust just because they don't like the pick, which is whatever. But honestly, if he does go out there and is absolutely terrible, I still think they made the right decision on Aaron Rodgers to move on from him at this point, because in my mind, no matter who is the quarterback over the next 2 years, they're going to be mediocre to wild card seed, maybe division winner if they're lucky. I just don't see how in the next 2 years this team will be a Super Bowl contender. I'd love to be wrong, even though I hate fans that constantly say I'd love to be proven wrong. But I'd love to be wrong on that. But I just, no matter who is quarterback, I see that being the situation over these next 2 years. So you can either prolong this period that you're about to go into of finding your next QB, whether that is Jordan Love or another young prospect. You can either go into that now, maybe have a worse season this year, and Rodgers can have fun out there in New York, or you can wait 2 or 3 years, have Aaron Rodgers right off into the sunset, probably on another playoff loss. Am I right? And then you go into the same period. So I just don't see where this team could possibly contend in the Super Bowl next year. But who knows? Well, a lot of ball game left on this. Like Aaron Rodgers could be traded tomorrow, and I would not be surprised. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Aaron said tomorrow, like, I had some good talks with the Jets, but I think I want to return to Green Bay. So we'll have to see. All there's left to do now is wait, and hopefully nothing is announced before I'm able to get this video out. Big B, any final thoughts here on this pretty wacky situation?
You know, it's Jordan Love time. It's Jordan Love season. Ready to go. Just want this all to be over with, finally. And
yes.
Jordan Love take over. But, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. Just never know.
Yeah, I am ready for that clarity where we can kind of forgive and forget everything that has transpired over these last few years. And maybe that doesn't happen until Rodgers retires. But I am looking forward to be able to appreciate all that he's done for this franchise once again. And not that I don't have that at this moment, but I think it will be a little bit more clarity after this whole situation. This 3-year situation is dealt with and put away. So we appreciate you all watching. I feel like a good amount of our viewers are like-minded with like us, but we'll see if we get some haters in the comments down below. But even if you are a hater, we do appreciate you watching, and we hope you'll subscribe to this YouTube channel and follow us on all the socials. Best place to reach us individually is on Twitter. Find me at JoeyVZ_, and then Big B at BigPackers4X. So that being said, we'll talk to you later, maybe tomorrow, with some Aaron Rodgers news. We'll see. Go Pack, go.